The discovery of the Golden Rule. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as Ambassador Zex Thul of the Vorthon Empire adjusted his translation device. Around the massive circular table sat representatives from 47 different species, each one more anxious than the last. The emergency session had been called after the discovery of something that would change everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. "Fellow council members," Zex Thul began, his 4 eyes scanning the assembled delegates, "we have uncovered something extraordinary in the ruins of the ancient predecessor civilization on Kepler 442b. The room fell silent. The predecessors were legendary, a mysterious race that had vanished millions of years ago, leaving behind only scattered ruins and technology so advanced that even today's greatest minds couldn't fully understand it. Every species in the galaxy had theories about what happened to them, but no one had ever found conclusive evidence. What we discovered," Zex Thul continued, activating a holographic display, "is what appears to be their final message to the galaxy." The hologram showed a crystalline structure covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change as they watched. The universal translator worked overtime, converting the ancient text into each delegate's native language. Ambassador Kelthera of the Nexian Federation leaned forward, her scaled face reflecting the blue light of the hologram. "What does it say?" Zex Thul's voice trembled slightly as he read, "To those who come after us, heed this warning above all others. We have cataloged every species in this galaxy, mapped their strengths and weaknesses, their potential for growth and destruction. But there is one species we discovered too late, one we failed to properly assess. They appear weak, soft, short-lived. They have no natural weapons, no armored skin, no psychic abilities. But do not be deceived by their appearance." The Krillian delegate, a massive insectoid creature, clicked his mandibles impatiently. "Get to the point, Vorthon." "The message continues," Zex Thul said, his voice growing more serious. "This species possesses something we have never encountered before, an unlimited capacity for adaptation, innovation, and most terrifyingly, an absolute refusal to surrender. They call themselves humans. We made the mistake of underestimating them. Our empire fell within a single solar cycle." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The Sharilan ambassador, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, pulsed rapidly with alarm. "Impossible! No single species could destroy the predecessors. They were the most advanced civilization in galactic history." Zex Thul nodded grimly. "There's more. The final part of the message reads, 'We leave this warning for any who might follow in our footsteps. There is only one rule that must never be broken if you wish your civilization to survive. Never disturb the humans. Let them develop naturally. Let them spread among the stars on their own terms. But never, under any circumstances, threaten them or try to conquer them. We learned this lesson when it was already too late.'" The chamber erupted in heated discussion. Some delegates scoffed at the notion that any species could be so dangerous. Others argued that if the predecessors were warning them, they should listen. But one voice cut through the chaos, Admiral Corvus of the Hegemony, a militaristic alliance of 12 species. "This is ridiculous," he growled, his cybernetic implants gleaming under the chamber lights. "You want us to believe that some primitive species that hasn't even achieved faster-than-light travel is capable of destroying civilizations? The hegemony has conquered 43 star systems. We've never encountered anything we couldn't defeat." "Admiral," warned Counselor Theiss of the Peaceful Collective, "perhaps we should investigate these humans before dismissing the warning." "We have," Corvus replied smugly. "Our scouts located their homeworld months ago. Sol system, third planet. They're exactly as pathetic as they appear. No energy shields, no plasma weapons, no gravitational manipulation. They still use chemical rockets to reach their own moon. They're nothing." The debate continued for hours, but eventually the council reached a decision. They would establish a monitoring station to observe humanity from a distance, but they would not make contact. The warning would be respected for now. However, not everyone agreed with this decision. 3 months later, Admiral Corvus stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Decimator, as it emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Around him, a fleet of 200 hegemony warships took up attack positions. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting primitive defense satellites around their homeworld, but nothing that poses a threat to our fleet." Corvus smiled coldly. "Prepare the subjugation protocol. We'll show the galaxy what happens to species that try to intimidate the hegemony with ancient fairy tales." On Earth, the year was 2157. Humanity had finally achieved their dream of exploring the stars, establishing colonies on Mars and Europa, and launching their first interstellar probe. Dr. Sarah Chen, director of the Global Defense Initiative, was reviewing reports from their deep space monitoring stations when alarms began blaring throughout the facility. "Director!" her aide called out. "We're detecting massive energy signatures approaching from outside the system. Whatever they are, they're huge, and they're heading straight for Earth." Sarah's blood ran cold. For decades, scientists had debated whether humanity was alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it wasn't friendly. "Activate all defense networks," she ordered. "Contact the colonies and tell them to prepare for the worst, and get me the president on the emergency channel." Above Earth's atmosphere, the first human space defense platforms, crude by galactic standards but ingeniously designed, swiveled to face the approaching threat. The platforms were armed with rail guns, particle beam weapons, and nuclear missiles. Against an advanced alien civilization, they seemed woefully inadequate. Admiral Corvus watched the pitiful human defenses with amusement. "These are the beings that supposedly destroyed the predecessors. Look at their weapons. They're barely beyond throwing rocks." But as the hegemony fleet closed in, something unexpected happened. The humans didn't surrender. They didn't try to negotiate. They didn't even broadcast a message asking for mercy. Instead, every single defense platform opened fire simultaneously. The coordinated barrage caught the hegemony off guard. While their shields easily deflected the primitive weapons, the sheer volume of fire was staggering. More importantly, the humans were targeting with mathematical precision, concentrating their fire on single points to stress the shields. "Impossible," muttered Corvus's science officer. "Their computational abilities are far beyond what our intelligence suggested. They're treating this like a complex engineering problem." As the battle raged, more surprises emerged. Human fighters, tiny one-man craft that shouldn't have posed any threat, began employing tactics that defied conventional military doctrine. They used their ships' exhaust trails as weapons, blinding sensors with debris clouds, and even rammed larger vessels at critical moments. But the most shocking revelation came when the humans began adapting in real time. Within hours of the battle's start, their weapons were firing different ammunition, specifically designed to exploit weaknesses they'd identified in hegemony technology. "How are they doing this?" Corvus demanded. His science officer's voice was filled with disbelief. "Sir, they're not just fighting us. They're studying us. Every shot they take, every maneuver they make, it's all part of some vast data-gathering operation. They're learning our technology faster than should be possible." As night fell on Earth, the planet's surface lit up with the glow of industrial facilities working at maximum capacity. Factories that had been producing civilian goods were retooled within hours to manufacture weapons specifically designed to fight the alien invaders. Dr. Chen stood in the command center, watching readouts from around the globe. "Status report?" "Ma'am, every major industrial center on Earth has converted to military production. The AI networks are processing battle data and developing new weapon designs faster than we can build them. The lunar colonies have launched everything they have, and Mars is sending reinforcements." "What about casualties?" "Heavy, but less than projected. The aliens seem confused by our tactics. Indeed, they were. Admiral Corvus had expected a quick victory against a primitive species. Instead, he found himself locked in combat with an enemy that seemed to evolve before his eyes. Every strategy he employed was countered within hours. Every technological advantage was neutralized by human ingenuity and adaptation. The turning point came on the third day of battle. A human scientist named Dr. James Rodriguez had been analyzing captured alien technology when he made a breakthrough. The aliens' faster-than-light communication system operated on a quantum frequency that could be disrupted with the right electromagnetic pulse. Within 6 hours, every human ship was equipped with the new disruption technology. The hegemony fleet suddenly found themselves cut off from their command structure, their ships operating independently without coordination. "This is impossible," Corvus roared. "They've only seen our technology for 3 days." But humans had one advantage the galaxy had never encountered before. They were used to fighting hopeless battles. Their entire history was filled with examples of smaller forces defeating larger ones through superior tactics, technology, or sheer determination. To humanity, this was just another Tuesday. On the 4th day, as reports of human victories began reaching other parts of the galaxy, something extraordinary happened. The human industrial machine had not only replaced their losses, but had begun producing ships with technology that rivaled the aliens' own. The first human vessel to achieve faster-than-light travel wasn't a carefully planned exploration ship. It was a hastily converted cargo freighter loaded with nuclear weapons and piloted by a volunteer crew with nothing to lose. As the UES Defiance dropped out of hyperspace behind the hegemony fleet, Admiral Corvus finally understood what the predecessors had tried to warn them about. Humans didn't just fight, they innovated under pressure. They turned every defeat into a lesson, every loss into motivation for improvement. The Defiance didn't survive its attack run, but it didn't need to. Its suicide mission proved that humans had not only reverse-engineered alien FTL technology, but had improved upon it. By the end of the first week, what had begun as an attempted conquest had become a rout. The hegemony fleet, once the terror of the Outer Rim, was in full retreat, pursued by ships that had been built from scratch using technology their crews had invented while under fire. Admiral Corvus's final transmission to the Galactic Council was brief and terrified. "We have awakened something that should have remained sleeping. The humans are not just fighting us, they're learning from us. Every attack makes them stronger. Every defeat makes them more dangerous. By all the gods of the galaxy, what have we done?" As the battered remnants of the hegemony fleet limped back toward their home systems, they carried with them news that would shake the galaxy to its core. The ancient warning had been true. Humanity was not just another species to be cataloged and conquered. They were something entirely new, something the galaxy had never seen before and was completely unprepared for. And now, thanks to the hegemony's aggression, they knew they were not alone in the universe. The age of human isolation was over, and the galaxy would never be the same. The human response. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened just 2 weeks after the hegemony's humiliating defeat. The vast chamber, designed to accommodate representatives from dozens of species, felt smaller somehow. Fear hung in the air like a toxic cloud, and every delegate kept glancing at the empty seats where the hegemony representatives should have been sitting. Ambassador Zexthul called the session to order, but his usual confidence was gone. "Fellow council members, we gather today to discuss the situation that has developed in the Sol system." Situation? The voice belonged to Councillor Vexhai of the Trion Syndicate, her tentacles writhing with agitation. "You call the complete annihilation of a galactic power a situation? The hegemony fleet was the most advanced military force in known space." The holographic display in the center of the chamber flickered to life, showing recorded footage from the battle. Ships that had taken decades to build being torn apart by weapons that had been invented in a matter of days. Advanced alien technology being reverse-engineered in real time by a species that had never seen it before. "The humans," Zexthul said quietly, "have done exactly what the predecessor warning told us they would do. They adapted." Counselor Thiss of the Peaceful Collective pulsed with nervous energy. "We must make contact immediately. We need to explain that the hegemony acted without council approval, that we come in peace." "Peace?" Admiral Krektos of the surviving hegemony forces stood up, his body scarred from battle damage. "You still don't understand what we're dealing with. I watched them take apart our shields molecule by molecule. I watched them build ships from nothing while we were shooting at them. These aren't just warriors, they're something else entirely." The chamber erupted in discussion, but it was interrupted by an urgent announcement from the Council's early warning system. A new contact was approaching the neutral zone around the Council chambers. The energy signature was unlike anything they had seen before, clearly human in origin, but incorporating technology from at least 6 different galactic civilizations. "This is impossible," whispered the Nexian Federation's science advisor. "That ship is using Vorthon shield harmonics, Trion navigation systems, and hegemony weapons platforms. How did they integrate technologies from species they've never even met?" The answer came when the human ship sent its first transmission. The voice was calm, professional, and spoke in perfect galactic standard, a language they couldn't possibly have known a month ago. "Galactic Council vessels. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Starship Endeavour. We request permission to address the Council regarding recent events in the Sol system." The silence in the chamber was absolute. Finally, Zexthul found his voice. "Permission granted, human vessel. Please proceed to Docking Bay 7. An hour later, Captain Chen walked into the council chamber with a confidence that made every alien present deeply uncomfortable. She was accompanied by 2 other humans, a man in military uniform and a woman carrying what appeared to be a briefcase full of alien technology. "Honored council members," Chen began, "I am Captain Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth Defense Force. I believe we need to have a conversation." She activated a portable holographic projector, technology that was clearly based on alien designs but somehow improved. The display showed a detailed map of local space, with human ships positioned throughout the region. "3 weeks ago," Chen continued, "we were a single-planet species with dreams of exploring the stars. Today, we have established defensive positions in 17 star systems and constructed a fleet of ships that incorporate technology from every major galactic power." The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just defended themselves, they had expanded. Admiral Krektos stood up shakily. "How? How is this possible? It took our civilizations millennia to develop faster-than-light travel." The woman with the briefcase stepped forward. "I'm Dr. Lisa Park, Director of the Rapid Technology Integration Program. The answer to your question is simple: necessity and human nature." She opened her briefcase, revealing components from various alien ships. "When you attack humans, you give us something precious, examples of your technology. And humans have one trait that apparently makes us unique in the galaxy. We don't just copy technology, we improve it." The holographic display shifted to show a time-lapse of human industrial development over the past 3 weeks, factories being built and retooled at impossible speeds, entire scientific disciplines being created overnight, and most impressively, the rapid integration of alien concepts with human engineering principles. "You see," Dr. Park continued, "humans have been forced to innovate throughout our entire evolutionary history. We survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and natural disasters not by being the strongest or fastest, but by being the most adaptable. We take what works and make it better." Counselor Thiss tried to maintain a diplomatic tone. "Dr. Park, We understand that the hegemony's actions were regrettable, but surely we can reach some kind of peaceful agreement." Captain Chen's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes grew colder. "Peaceful agreement? Counselor, 3 weeks ago your people tried to commit genocide against our species. The only reason Earth still exists is because we fought back." "The hegemony acted without authorization," Zexthul protested. "The Council had voted to observe and respect the predecessor warning." "And yet," the military officer spoke for the first time, "you all knew about us. You all had the opportunity to make contact peacefully. Instead, you chose to treat us like lab rats to be studied from a distance." He introduced himself as General Marcus Webb, head of Human Strategic Planning. "We've had time to think about this situation, and we've come to some conclusions about galactic civilization that you might find uncomfortable." The hologram shifted again, this time showing a detailed analysis of galactic politics. Trade routes, military alliances, territorial disputes, and power structures were all laid out with startling accuracy. "In just 3 weeks," General Webb continued, "we've mapped your entire political structure. We know who trades with whom has military pacts, who has territorial disputes. And what we've found is a galaxy filled with civilizations that consider themselves advanced, but who have become complacent." The accusation hung in the air like a challenge. Several delegates tried to speak at once, but Captain Chen raised her hand for silence. "We're not here to threaten you," she said. "We're here to establish new rules." "Rules?" Counselor Vexhigh's tentacles writhed with indignation. "You've been a spacefaring species for less than a month. What gives you the right to dictate anything to civilizations that are millions of years old?" Dr. Parks smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. "Because in that month, we've advanced further than any of your civilizations have in the past 1,000 years. Because we took a fleet that was supposed to conquer us and turned it into scrap metal and learning materials. Because right now, there are human ships in 17 star systems, and not one of your military forces has been able to detect them." The implications of that statement sent a wave of fear through the chamber. The humans weren't just defending themselves anymore. They were projecting power throughout local space without any of the major powers even knowing it. General Webb took over the presentation. 3 weeks ago, we learned we weren't alone in the universe. We also learned that the galaxy operates under a principle of might makes right. The strong take what they want from the weak. The hegemony thought we were weak, so they tried to take our planet. The hologram showed footage from the battle, but this time from human perspectives. The desperate early hours when Earth's primitive defenses seemed hopeless against advanced alien technology. The gradual turning of the tide as human ingenuity began to assert itself. The final rout as hastily constructed human vessels chased fleeing alien warships across the solar system. "We want to make something clear to all of you," Captain Chen said. "Humanity has no interest in conquering the galaxy. We don't want your planets, your resources, or your trade routes. We want to explore, to learn, to grow, but we will never again allow ourselves to be vulnerable." "So what do you propose?" asked Ambassador Zexthul. "First," General Webb said, "formal recognition of human sovereignty over any system where we establish a presence. Second, immediate cessation of all surveillance operations in human space. Third, technological and cultural exchange programs on equal terms." "And if we refuse?" Admiral Krektos asked. The 3 humans exchanged glances. "Then you'll learn why the predecessors left that warning," Captain Chen said simply. The chamber fell silent again. Everyone present had seen what humans could do when threatened. The idea of what they might accomplish if they decided to actively oppose galactic civilization was terrifying. But there was something else in the human proposal that caught the attention of several delegates. The offer of technological exchange suggested that humans were willing to share their innovations that had already surpassed much of what galactic civilization had achieved. Dr. Park seemed to read their thoughts. "We know what you're thinking. Yes, we'd be willing to share some of our advances. Our medical technology has already eliminated several diseases that have plagued our species for millennia. Our manufacturing techniques can build complex machinery in a fraction of the time your methods require. Our computer systems can process information at rates that exceed your best quantum networks." She paused to let that sink in. "But understand this. We'll only share with those who approach us as equals, not as subjects to be studied or conquered." Counselor Thiss leaned forward. "What you're describing sounds like the technological revolution that created the predecessor civilization. Are you suggesting that humans could reach that level of advancement?" "We're suggesting," Captain Chen replied, "that humans might have already surpassed it. The predecessors built an empire that lasted millions of years, but they became complacent. They stopped innovating. When they encountered something new, us, they couldn't adapt quickly enough. General Webb activated a new holographic display. We've been studying the predecessor ruins that your people discovered. Their technology was advanced, but it was also static. They perfected a design and then stopped improving it. Humans don't work that way. We never stop improving." The display showed human ships under construction in hidden shipyards throughout local space. But these weren't copies of alien designs. They were something entirely new, incorporating the best features of every technology they had encountered while introducing innovations that no galactic civilization had ever conceived. "This is what happened when you gave us examples of your technology," Dr. Park explained. "We didn't just reverse engineer it, we reimagined it. Your FTL drives are fast, but they're inefficient. Your weapons are powerful, but they're crude. Your shields are strong, but they're inflexible. We fixed all of those problems." The demonstration was brief, but effective. A small human probe appeared on the chamber's sensors, moving through space at speeds that should have been impossible. It phased through the Council Station's shields as if they weren't there, transmitted a friendly greeting, and then vanished again faster than any tracking system could follow. "That probe was built 3 days ago," Captain Chen said calmly, "by a team of human engineers who had never seen faster-than-light technology before last month." The message was clear. If humans could accomplish this much in 3 weeks, what could they do given more time? But there was something else in the human presentation that was perhaps even more unsettling than their technological advancement. Their understanding of galactic politics and psychology was unnervingly accurate. They had identified weaknesses and pressure points that even longtime council members weren't fully aware of. "You've been studying us," Zexthul observed. "Of course we have," General Webb replied. "Just like you've been studying us. The difference is that we've learned from what we observed. Your civilizations have been stable for so long that you've forgotten how to change. You've perfected systems of government, trade, and warfare, and then you stopped evolving. And that," Captain Chen concluded, "is why the predecessors fell to humans, and why the hegemony fell to us. When you stop adapting, you become vulnerable to those who never stop growing." The humans gathered their equipment and prepared to leave, but Captain Chen had one final message for the council. "We'll give you time to consider our proposal, but understand that the galaxy has changed. The old rules, where the strong simply take what they want from the weak, those don't apply anymore. Humanity is here, and we're not going away. The question is whether you want us as allies or as something else entirely." As their ship disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence, every delegate was thinking the same thing. The ancient predecessor warning hadn't been a myth or a cautionary tale. It had been a prophecy, and it was coming true. The new galaxy 6 months had passed since humanity's first contact with galactic civilization, and the changes were visible everywhere. Space lanes that had been controlled by the same trade guilds for millennia now hosted human merchants whose ships could travel faster and carry more cargo than anything previously imagined. Research stations that had spent centuries working on the same problems were suddenly announcing breakthroughs after just weeks of collaboration with human scientists. But perhaps the most dramatic change was taking place in the former hegemony territories, where a power vacuum had created chaos that was only now beginning to stabilize. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, humanity's newest and most advanced starship, watching the orbital construction platforms around New Geneva. The space station, built in just 4 months, was already larger than some planetary cities and served as humanity's primary diplomatic and trade hub. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. Ambassador Zexathul requests immediate assistance." Elena sighed. This was the third emergency call this month. "Put him through." The hologram of the Vorthon diplomat appeared, and Elena could see the stress in all 4 of his eyes. "Admiral Vasquez, thank you for responding so quickly. We have a situation developing in the Korath sector." "What kind of situation?" Elena asked, though she suspected she already knew. "The Draconis Collective has declared independence from the Galactic Council and is threatening to establish their own empire. They claim that human technology has made the old power structures obsolete, and they want to use stolen human ship designs to conquer their neighbors." Elena rubbed her temples. This was exactly what she had warned the council about during their last meeting. "Zexthul, we told you this would happen. When you introduce advanced technology to a society that isn't ready for it, things get unstable quickly." We know," the ambassador replied desperately. "But what choice did we have? After seeing what humans could accomplish, every species in the galaxy wanted access to the same technology. Trade agreements, military pacts, research partnerships. Everyone wanted a piece of human innovation. And now you have species with 1,000-year-old grudges suddenly equipped with weapons they don't understand," Elena said. "How many ships does the Draconis Collective have?" "Intelligence suggests they've built approximately 50 vessels, using modified human FTL drives and human-inspired weapons systems." Elena shook her head. The modified designs were probably dangerous to operate and certainly less effective than proper human technology, but they were still centuries ahead of traditional galactic weapons. "All right," she said finally, "we'll handle it. But this is the last time we clean up a mess that the Council created by trying to shortcut technological development." 3 hours later, the UES Prometheus dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Korath sector, accompanied by a small task force of human vessels. What they found was worse than Elena had expected. The Draconis fleet wasn't just threatening their neighbors, they were actively attacking trade convoys and civilian ships. Their stolen technology might be inferior to genuine human designs, but it was more than sufficient to overwhelm traditional galactic defenses. "This is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Defense Force," she broadcast on all frequencies. "Draconis vessels, you are ordered to cease your attacks on civilian targets and withdraw to your home system immediately." The response came from Admiral Thexmore, the Draconis leader whose scaled face filled the screen with arrogant confidence. "Human, your species may have impressed the weak-minded council, but the Draconis Collective bows to no one. We have taken your technology and made it our own. Your advantage is no longer unique." Elena almost felt sorry for him. "Admiral Thexmore, you're operating ships with stolen technology that you don't fully understand. I'm giving you one chance to reconsider before this gets ugly." "Ugly?" Thexmore laughed, showing rows of predatory teeth. "Human, we have 50 ships equipped with your own faster-than-light drives and quantum weapons. You have 6 ships. The mathematics are simple." "You're right," Elena agreed. "The mathematics are simple. You just don't understand them." What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for decades to come. The human task force didn't engage in a traditional battle. Instead, they demonstrated why copying technology without understanding it was so dangerous. The first Draconis ship to fire its stolen quantum weapons discovered that their targeting system couldn't compensate for the advanced maneuvering capabilities of genuine human vessels. The shot went wide by several thousand kilometers. The second ship discovered that their modified FTL drives, while fast, couldn't handle the stress of rapid directional changes. The engine suffered a catastrophic failure that left the ship drifting helplessly in space. The third ship found out why human shield systems were designed with specific power requirements that couldn't be jury-rigged. Their stolen shields collapsed under the first return fire from the human ships. But it was the fourth ship that provided the most educational moment. When it attempted to use a human-designed electromagnetic pulse weapon, the crew discovered that they hadn't properly understood the safety protocols. The weapon overloaded their own systems, leaving them blind and defenseless. Within 20 minutes, the entire Draconis fleet was either destroyed or disabled, without a single human casualty. "This is why we offered technological exchange programs," Elena broadcast to the surviving Draconis ships as human rescue vessels moved to assist the crews. "Technology without understanding is just expensive scrap metal." Admiral Thexmore, now broadcasting from an escape pod after his flagship's power core overloaded, looked shaken. "How? We studied the technology for months. Our best engineers worked on those designs." "Your best engineers," Elena replied patiently, "are experts in thousand-year-old galactic technology. Human technology isn't just more advanced, it's based on completely different principles. You can't upgrade a stone axe by strapping a laser to it." The rescue operation took several hours, during which Elena had plenty of time to think about the larger problems facing the galaxy. The Draconis incident was just the latest example of civilizations trying to take shortcuts to human-level technology without understanding the scientific and cultural foundations that made it possible. "Admiral," her science officer reported, "we've completed our analysis of the Draconis modifications. It's actually worse than we thought." "How so?" "They've been sharing their stolen designs with at least 6 other species. We're looking at a galaxy-wide proliferation of dangerous, unstable technology." Elena felt a headache coming on. "Get me a secure channel to Captain Chen at New Geneva. We need to discuss this with the diplomatic team." An hour later, Elena was participating in a 3-way conference with Captain Chen and Dr. Park, who had become humanity's primary liaison with galactic civilization. "The situation is getting out of hand," Elena reported. "We have dozens of species trying to reverse engineer our technology, and most of them are creating weapons that are as dangerous to themselves as they are to their enemies." Dr. Park nodded grimly. "We've seen similar problems with our medical technology. 3 species have tried to adapt our genetic therapies without understanding human biology, and the results have been catastrophic." "The Council is asking for more direct intervention," Captain Chen added. "They want us to establish human oversight of all technology transfers." "That's exactly what we don't want to do," Elena said firmly. "The moment we start directly controlling galactic technology, we become the thing the predecessors warned about, a dominant species that imposes its will on everyone else." "So what do you suggest?" Dr. Park asked. Elena pulled up a star chart showing the current distribution of human operations throughout local space. "We accelerate the education programs. Instead of trying to police stolen technology, we make the legitimate programs so attractive that there's no point in stealing." "Explain," Captain Chen said. "Right now, we're offering technology exchange to species that approach us as equals," Elena said. "But we're requiring them to develop the scientific and cultural foundations to use that technology responsibly. It's a long process, and some species are getting impatient." She highlighted several star systems where human-alien joint research facilities were operating. "But look at the results. The Nexian Federation has successfully integrated our medical technology because they took the time to understand human biological principles. The Peaceful Collective has adopted our manufacturing techniques because they understood the materials science behind them. And the species that tried to shortcut the process, Dr. Park continued, end up with dangerous weapons that don't work properly, or medical treatments that are toxic to their biology, or industrial techniques that create more problems than they solve. Captain Chen leaned back in her chair. So, we make the legitimate path easier and faster while making it clear that the shortcut path leads to disaster. Exactly, Elena agreed. We expand the joint research programs, establish more educational exchanges, and maybe most importantly, we demonstrate what's possible when the technology is properly understood and implemented. 3 weeks later, Elena found herself back in the Galactic Council chambers, but this time the atmosphere was very different. Instead of fear and suspicion, there was excitement and anticipation. Representatives from 24 species had gathered to witness the signing of the Enhanced Cooperation Accords. The agreement is simple, Captain Chen explained to the assembled delegates. Humanity will establish permanent research and education facilities in every participating system. We'll share our technology, our scientific methods, and our educational techniques. In return, participating species commit to using this knowledge responsibly and helping to prevent the proliferation of dangerous stolen technology. Ambassador Zex Thul, looking much more relaxed than he had in months, stood to address the gathering. This agreement represents a new chapter in galactic civilization. Instead of the old system where knowledge was hoarded and technology was stolen, we're creating a community where advancement benefits everyone. The signing ceremony was interrupted by an urgent transmission from the Outer Rim. Admiral Krektos, now serving as military advisor to the Council, appeared on the main screen with disturbing news. Council members, we've detected massive energy signatures beyond the galactic edge, unknown ships using technology that doesn't match any known species. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. How massive are we talking about? Larger than anything in our databases, Krektos replied. They appear to be heading toward the core systems. The chamber fell silent as everyone processed the implications. Just as galactic civilization was beginning to adapt to the reality of human technology, something even more advanced was approaching. Admiral Vasquez, Zex Thul said quietly, do you think these could be the predecessors returning? Elena studied the energy readings. No, she said after a moment. This is something else. Something that makes the predecessors look primitive. Dr. Park was already running calculations on her portable computer. If these readings are accurate, whoever they are, they're using technology that's centuries ahead of even current human capabilities. Well, Captain Chen said with the calm that had become characteristic of human leadership, I guess we're about to find out if the galaxy has learned anything from the past 6 months. Elena looked around the chamber at the representatives of dozens of species, many of whom had just committed to working together for the first time in their histories. At least this time, we won't be facing the unknown alone. The approaching fleet represented a new challenge, but it also represented an opportunity. The galaxy had spent months learning to adapt and innovate under human guidance. Now they would discover if those lessons had been learned well enough to face something that even humanity might not be prepared for. As the unknown ships continued their approach toward the galactic core, one thing was clear. The old galaxy, where species existed in isolation, where technology was stolen rather than shared, where the strong simply dominated the weak, that galaxy was gone forever. In its place was something new, something built on cooperation and shared advancement. Whether it would be strong enough to survive whatever was coming remained to be seen, but for the first time in galactic history, every species would face the future together. The ancient predecessor warning had spoken of never disturbing humanity. But perhaps the real lesson was different. Never underestimate what any species might accomplish when they refuse to accept limitations. Now, as unknown forces approached from beyond the galaxy's edge, that lesson would be tested on a scale that no one could have imagined.